Yeah, it's live, sir. Okay, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Everything is fine?
Fine, sir.
Okay. Right. Good morning, friends. Once again, welcome you to this session on the Masterclass 3. Uh, um, in the last session, what we have discussed is about the introductory aspect of consumer behavior, why marketers need to study consumer behavior. And then, the consumer is a human being and his behavior is based on certain important factors. So, what are the disciplines that help us to understand the nature of consumer behavior is the session today. So, the interdisciplinary nature of consumer behavior, when we talk about it, it refers to the study of how individuals or groups of individuals select the products, purchase the products, use them, and dispose them. Not only goods, but also services, certain ideas, and also certain experiences in the process of satisfaction of their needs and desires. That's how it goes when we talk about consumer behavior. But then, how to study and what are the disciplines that can help us to study the consumer behavior? That's the important aspect here, because consumer behavior insights are very important here. We have already seen in the last session masterclass that these insights are said to be very important to develop better products, and all four P's in marketing management, for example, product, price, place, and promotion strategies, can be fine tuned if you can understand how consumer behaves in the market at the marketplace. So there is a point of reference here when we talk about interdisciplinary approach, because we safe assume here that consumer behavior is influenced by multiple fields, multiple disciplines. Those disciplines include psychology, sociology, economics, and anthropology. So we need to dwell into these disciplines for the purposes of better understanding of consumer and his or her behavior at the marketplace. So let us see what are the contributions that we have from psychology. We also talk about consumer psychology. So the first aspect here is psychology and consumer behavior. So as you all know, it is something in relation to the mental frame of reference of a human being when we talk about psychology. So here we discuss on how emotions, perceptions, and cognitive processes influence buying decisions. Because we have already said earlier, consumer is partly rational and partly emotional. Don't think that consumer always looks at price, quality, or whatever. There are certain excited states of mind called emotions, and then he get into emotive behavior sometimes as such, excited states. And that's what we call consumers perceive. You know what is meant by perception? Perception is all about how you see things in and around, understand, comprehend, and act. So once you say marketer throws open the product, which an advertisement campaign or product physical shape of the product where it is placed in a retail outlet, so consumer perceives different things. Now based on consumer perceptions, buying behavior will be influenced. Same is the thing when we talk about cognitive process. A lot of things happen in consumer's mind here: to buy or not to buy this, to buy that, all these things. So these factors influence buying behavior. So let's examine what are these. Just now we have just talked about it. Perception is how consumers interpret products, including advertisements, the impact of color for branding, etc., makes a lot of difference here when we talk about it. For example, when you're buying a soap, how do you, what factors will influence you to buy a soap? Soap is, the toilet soap, for example, bathing soap, for example, it cleans the body when you take a bath. Then comes here shape, color, fragrance, and the ingredients, whether they have a glycerin in it or not, or there's some sandalwood oil is there or not. See, these things count a lot when you buy a soap, for example. Just see. So this is what we call the consumer's interpretation of different things. Everything goes into the mind. For example, consumer wants to have sandalwood oil in the bath soap, so they would buy sandalwood. If they say, okay, I want a glycerin in it, and then they go for some Margot or whatever you call it, all the soaps what we have. Clear what I mean to say here. Same is the case with toothpaste, for example. Somebody says, there is a clove oil in toothpaste. See, this is an oral hygiene factor. So how color matters again. Close up has taken in three things: close up green, close up red, close up blue. So how does color matter here? So these are what we call the perceptual considerations. Of course, when we take up for detailed discussion through the journey to consumer behavior, we'll be dropping a number of examples to highlight. Number two is motivation. You know what is meant by motivation? This is how your needs are aroused. You're the students of principles of management in the first semester. You can understand what is the Maslow's need hierarchy. Safety, security, self-actualization needs one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We reach to the pinnacle, right? The self-actualization needs. First is the basic needs. Next is the safety need, security needs, social needs, self-actualization needs. So all this model also helps consumers' choices, influences consumer choices, what consumer needs as a matter of fact. So this is what we call motivation. He is aroused. Consumers are aroused based on their needs. So for example, next is the learning. Learning is consumer preferences are shaped by a number of things, like say the past experiences. You have bought a product, but that didn't work well for you because of some reasons you identify. So that becomes a learning for you. I should not buy the product in the next time when I buy this. So you throw the brand out of your choice. Or you may say your neighbor might have said, or your friend might have said, oh, use this brand, is fantastic. So that's a learning you have from your friend or relative or some social influencer. And based on that, you buy the product. That's called learning. Learning from self, learning from others, etc. Then it becomes a personality, and lifestyle also comes a very important thing. All people are not having the same style of functioning, as a matter of fact. So because there are different types of personalities. So based on your personality dimension, that affect your purchase behavior. So for example, I always use only Colgate because of a variety of reasons. My grandfather purchased it, and the age old product, I don't want to just go out of that. Reasons may be very many. That's me, that's all. But my son or my grandson do not have this kind of a thing. Like, so this is personality, lifestyle also determines your buying behavior. Let's examine an example here. How Apple marketing strategies work out here. Let's see. Apple's marketing creates a perception of exclusivity and innovation. Fantastic. When compared to that of different brands of computers, for example, iPhone, for example, how Apple marketing creates a perception in the mind of the consumers of exclusivity and innovation, making consumers willing to pay a little more price as a premium. So this is what we call the positioning the product in the mind of the consumer based on psychological factors. They perceive Apple as a good quality. Apple product, Apple iPhone, Apple laptop, whatever, when compared to that of Max book or whatever you call it. So now, impulse buying during online sales is another important example. For example, you may say that Amazon announces a Prime Day sale. Prime Day sale means an exclusive day for you to claim lot of discounts there. So you feel rushed up on online shopping because you want to get the advantage of the discount from Amazon site. Otherwise, you may be losing it. That's why you are under the fear of missing out. If I don't buy it on this particular day, Prime Day, the product may not you may not get the product at a discounted price. So all these are the examples when we talk about cognitive processes in the mind of the consumer influences his or her buying behavior. So the first important aspect is to understand the impact of psychology on consumer behavior. The second one is discipline of sociology. As you know, the name implies individuals are not individuals by nature, they are social beings as such. Am I clear? So we have traveled a lot from Stone Age to civilized atmosphere today. So people are socialized. We have a societal cultures are there, and you will be mingling in groups, and there are certain culture norms and all. Sociology is all about studying the social structures, groups, and culture norms, etc. So there is a marked influence of the social structure, groups, and culture norms on buying decisions. Do you agree? Yes, the answer is very definitely yes. Let's see how these sociological factors influence consumer behavior. And number one is peer influence on brand preferences. For example, reference groups we call it, because you are a customer, you're a person, but your likes and dislikes will be influenced by your reference groups. Reference groups means in which you get caught up. That means your peer influence. For example, you are there and your classmates preferences may have marked influence on your behavior as such. This is what we call peer influence, same societal groups or whatever call it. For example, you're a teenager and you're a fashion seeker. For example, you want to buy a shoe for you. Which brand of shoe you buy? For example, I am an elderly person. I go only for a formal shoe. I'm not a fashion seeker. But you, as a teenager, you buy Nike shoes due to social trends mandate. So it's a premium brand. So shoe is a shoe is a shoe in any way, for example. But then peer influence count a lot. Your classmates may say, "Oh, go and buy this. Let's buy this." That's how it goes. That's what we call reference groups. You are being influenced by your reference group. Second, social class. People are divided on the basis of income brackets, like middle class or above middle class, poorer class, or whatever you call it. This is called social class based on your income levels. So, for example, the marketers, produce and market luxury brands. Okay, luxury brands, uh, most of the manufacturers target high income consumers when they sell luxury brands. Am I clear? For example, if you take fashion products, for example, you may say fashion fabric or whatever you call it. A French luxury fashion house scores a lot in the world market, as a matter of fact. Louis Vuitton. Or another example can be Rolex watches. where you compare with normal wristwatch and Rolex watch. Rolex watches are considered to be high priced, and they cater to high income consumers. So the second important component to understand sociological factors is to classify people on the basis of the income levels and the social class, and we'll be targeting consumers based on the social class. Next is culture and subcultures. In every culture there are subcultures. For example, take India is a museum of races, right? What is there in Maharashtra is not there in Telangana, and what is not there in Andhra Pradesh. People live with their own customs, traditions, fashions, etc. So, don't you think that this culture and subculture is a matter of concern for the marketers to understand the buying behavior, how to market their products? For example, in the festive buying trends, for example, say in case of Telugu speaking states, we have say for example, especially in Andhra Pradesh, we have Pongal. Sankranti is a big festival for us. We call it as a Pedda Pandaga, whatever you call it. But in case of Telangana, for example, you have a Batukama festival. You have there are certain things that people go on celebrating. This is based on cultures and subcultures, as a matter of fact. So based on that, their buying trends will also be influenced. For example, during Diwali season, increased jewelry sales will take place. Say, for example, in Akshay Tritiya, when jewelry houses announce that Akshay Tritiya, you at least buy at least 1 gram of gold, so, as a good sentiment. So all these buying patterns, are based on culture and subcultures where we live in. That's another important aspect. So if you just look at some real life example, when you take into consideration sociology and consumer behavior, certain social media personalities shopping consumer choices also influence markets. There are a number. We have a lot of people, celebrities who are selling the different types of products. I can tell you one good example, world class film personality from Los Angeles, Kylie Jenner, promoting skincare products. He's a very famous film personality. She is into fashion products as such. So she has got a skincare product. See, means that you people who actually buy products belong to certain social classes, belong to certain cultural backdrops and subcultural backdrops. So, social media personalities who are trying to influence, this is what we call influencer marketing. And they go on influencing the customers based on their social structures. They influence the social structures, they influence groups of people, they influence culture norms. So, that's what it means. Again, for example, if you want to, buy a car, okay, if you want to buy a car, do you buy a petrol or diesel version or electric vehicle? Tell me, what this is a basic question. Electric vehicles are on today. It's environment friendly. Carbon footprints are lesser and lesser. Because if you buy a electric vehicle, when instead of a petrol diesel vehicle, so group think in technology adoption is much more important. Number of people are opting for electric vehicles. That's what we call group think. So people will be switching to electric vehicles because of environmental consciousness. Most of the people are. So the governments also are coming up, funding this kind of companies who manufacture electric vehicles by way of concessions or whatever you call it. So this is how it goes. So the second important aspect here is we need to understand sociology and its impact on consumer behavior. Sociology is all about social structures, groups, and cultural norms on the influence of social structures, groups, cultural norms on buying decisions of people. The third, of course, is economics, needless to say, because Every product is priced. Nothing is offered free. There is no free lunch today. So every product is priced. And every service is priced. So what is the role of income, pricing, and economic theories in consumption? You are the students of managerial economics, business economics. I did not have to tell you much about what it means when talk about demand supply situation, price sensitivity, income effect, etc., etc. The good examples for us to examine. Let's say demand and supply. The price affects definitely consumer choices, right? For example, if you give a discount, what is the role of a discount in pricing? Consumers will buy more of that particular product where the discount is announced. So it goes without saying, simple logic is discounts increase sales. Simple economic reason for that. Am I clear what I'm saying? So, for example, if you look at demand supply scenarios, supply is more than demand. What may happen? That means there are number of goods that are produced in the market, and there are lesser consumers demanding it. So, what may happen when the supply exceeds demand? Price falls. So you have no option except to sell the product at a lesser price. Suppose assume it's reverse. uh, Demand is more than supply. There are very few products, but consumers' demand is higher. So in such a situation, there's a price sensitivity there. So you can offer a higher price because there's a high demand but lesser supply. So consumers will be looking for availability rather than price. That's how it goes. Then about luxury versus necessary products. For example, there are comfort, there are convenience products, there are luxuries, and all that we can consider. So there's a price sensitivity concept. That's again the concept from economics. Say, for example, demand for iPhones despite high prices. See, I have already told you, if you look at iPhone pricing, it's beyond 1 lakh. Can you imagine a mobile phone, a smartphone costing that much? Yes, people are there to buy. There's a price sensitivity here, please note. Meaning that the demand for iPhones despite high prices. That's it. Then the income effect. Uh, when you have more incomes, the simple logic is you spend more on various types of goods and services. Of course, when you have income, something is saved and something is spent. So the consumption expenditure is dependent mostly on the high incomes of the individuals. That's again simple economics concept. Income effect. More are the incomes, so they will be preferring more premium brands. Simple logic. Let us take some examples here. See how the marked shift takes place. I'm just giving one or two important examples. You can apply it to the larger gamut of products and services available in the market. Again, I repeat here, the rise of subscription-based services like Netflix, Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video, and Spotify, what you call music apps. Consumers prefer access over ownership due to cost effectiveness. See, instead of buying how many cassettes and how many records you buy, earlier we used to buy, a gramophone records. You used to have a trunk where, you place all albums, X album, Y album of singers and all. Used to play it on a record player. Gone are those days. Technology is completely changed. Could you get the point? So you need not have to even buy the DVDs and play. We have smartphones available. Everything is made available today. So you subscribe. Don't buy the video. Don't buy the film. You subscribe to Netflix or Amazon Prime Time or whatever, where you find the films. Name any film which is available on OTT. You can see simply sitting relaxed at home. See, this is what it means. Instead of buying it, you subscribe. It is lesser. This is simple economics. Cost effective. Then consumers switching from a premium grocery brands to private labels because of the inflation impact. Meaning that, for example, Walmart's great value. Say if you would like to go for groceries, you go for D-Mart and buy instead of going to some other marketplace, because these will have an inflation impact. Prices are on the rise, and you want to have the advantage. And people like Walmart or D-Mart or whatever offer price discounts and lesser prices, and you go. This is simple economics. So the third one is economics and consumer behavior impact. And fourth one is anthropology and consumer behavior. That means you need to understand clearly uh, what is the role of anthropology. Anthropology is all about cultural influences. Of course, it is very allied to subject to that of sociology. The study of how culture influences consumer habits and traditions. Look at what any example you can take. For example, say for example your breakfast habit. Think of olden days today, how you're going to have it, and what are the changes that are there, and what are the cultural influences in consumer habits and traditions. As a matter of fact, all these things count a lot. Some key anthropological factors. For example, if you take global brands also, like brands adopting to cultural sensitivities, like McDonald's vegetarian menu in India. McDonald's, a global chain, food chain, now making vegetarian stuff available in India. Vegetarian menu. That's interesting. Then tradition versus modernization. See, there's a marked shift again from homemade goods to mass production. That's something. Say, for example, when you would like to buy a food, can you buy a food? You have to make for yourself normally, or else if you want to go out, you go to a hotel. And now today we have Swiggy, Zomato, whatever you call it, and people are ready to buy from outside, and they supply at the doorstep. So tradition versus modernization. Reasons may be very minimal. We are not saying, we are not debating upon whether it is right or wrong. So just look at the shifts that are there. So that's interesting aspect, and how cultural shifts take place. Earlier, we have to have only cook and eat, but today we can go out and dine. Okay, then about rituals and customs. That's also interesting when in culture, in a cultural backdrop we can see. For example, in Western culture, you have Christmas for Christians, for example, and world over it is celebrated. So a lot of presentation articles, etc., etc., take place. For example, in our religious festival seasons, belonging to Eastern cultures, like in India, whatever you call it. Then also we have lot of products that influence practices shaping consumer choices. Am I clear? Like Valentine's Day, for example, chocolates are said to be in high demand for Valentine's Day. Of course, Valentine's Day, we celebrate it or not in the Indian context, that's a different story. But then, am I clear what I'm saying? In Christianity, we have, in India, where you see in Xmas season, where you go here in churches or at different houses, you find this is again the ritual or custom, based on religion, based on certain things, your festival seasons, etc. So if the marketer wants to capitalize these cultural influences, they do all these strategies. Like for example, Starbucks, a big global chain coffee shop, strategy for localizing the products. They try to localize the products based on rituals, customs, traditions, etc., etc. Say, for example, I tell you one good example. I think most of you might be knowing it. In Nike, using cultural storytelling ads. See, in certain South African countries, Black Lives Matter campaigns, because we know there is a what you call difference when we talk about two races like whites and blacks. So blacks are not regarded as good so far as whites are concerned. So Nike using cultural storytelling ads, Black Lives Matter much for us campaigns. This is again touching on certain key anthropological factors. Am I clear what I'm saying? So this is how. The fourth one is anthropology. Then let's take a case discussion. Most of you must be carefully looking at, because this is a shorter a session. It may be completed within 10 minutes or so. Anyway, so let us take a case study. Why Gen Z in India? You know what is meant by Gen Z? When we talk about generations, certain specialists in population studies have classified generations into different generations. Today we have 2025 born, or Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, sorry, Gen Beta, and earlier to that are Gen Alpha. So it's an example where we take why Gen Z in India prefer sustainable fashion over fast fashion. You know what is meant by sustainable fashion? All textiles or fashion fabrics that what we use must be sustainable, environment friendly. We don't want to use plastic. We don't want to you use nylon thread. That's what, fast fashion versus sustainable fashion. Let's see the case in point for you to examine how consumer behavior is influenced by either psychological factors, sociological factors, anthropological factors, and economic factors. Gen Z in India, born between 1997 and 2012, most of you belong to this, is witnessing a major shift in fashion choices, moving away from fashion brands like H&M, Zara, and Shein, because these are all before it is being banned in India, because we have environmental concerns, and the fabrics what that they use all the threads which are not biodegradable as such. So people prefer now move from those products to eco-friendly and sustainable brands. Very important, because people started looking at, no, our globe is important for us, sustainability is important for us, the eco-friendly approach is very very important. We must conserve our environment. We have to have all the healthy practices, etc. So that's the intention of most of the people who are likely to take care of this environment friendly approach. So this shift is driven by environmental consciousness, affordability, and cultural values and social influence mostly. So that's the reason why there's a marked shift here, and people who belong to this particular generation and after started looking at sustainable fashion. So, sustainable Indian brands such as Fab India, No Nasties, Okai, B Label, Doodlage, Upasana, and Raw Mango are gaining popularity due to their ethical production processes, because they use organic materials and focus on durability and sustainability. See this, because people wanted this. People want earlier, fine, because we in our earlier days we used to have nylon or whatever you call it. There's a lot of environment degradability issues are there. So you have to have an ethical production processes. You're not supposed to make all the dirty nonsense to pollute the environment. So ethical practices in the production process is very very important. So this case examines how psychology, sociology, economics, and anthropology influence this new generation, Gen Z, not new, but born between 1997 and 2012, move towards sustainable fashion in India. Something interesting, isn't it? So no people, but people who are now in ready-made garment manufacturing scenarios and our fashion fabric, they must be understanding clearly the shift, how it shifted. So let's examine this in detail with reference to the case study given here. One is, what are the psychological implications of Gen Z here, and how they talk about it. The eco-conscious mindset, environmental concerns are there. Simple. Gen Z in India is more aware of climate change. They started understanding climate change, global warming, pollution, and textile waste. So they're so responsible because their minds, their attitudes are so nicely set. And then they started looking at, no, let's not anymore further pollute our globe. So this concern makes more likely to choose brands that focus on sustainability. Sustainability means what? Saving the globe, saving our environment. Whatever you do it, but save the environment. That means the use of raw material, for example, or the finished product what you make, and when we would like to dispose that particular product, it must be biodegradable. That's why people are now worried about even packaging material. Environment friendly packaging is there, no plastics, whatever. These things are counting when are a very important factor to be considered now. For example, no nighties, Goa based fashion fabric. India's first 100% organic. Please note, what is meant by organic? Then they have all the raw material which is absolutely organic, no synthetic or whatever it is. And fair trade fashion brand. It is branded as fair trade fashion brand. They are not creating any damage to the environment. So the end consumers prefer it for its zero plastic packaging and ethical production. What the yarn they take, the use of this. So they are very ethical in their production processes and zero plastic packaging. See this, no nasties, Goa based brand. Then again, B Label is another Bombay hemp company brand. Creates biodegradable hemp clothing. Hemp means here biodegradability. It creates biodegradable hemp clothing, catering to eco-conscious Indian youth. People are now worried about eco-friendly approaches, environment conservation. So this is. Then Doodlage is another Delhi-based fashion textile unit, focuses on upcycling textile waste to create stylish clothing. See, recycling. Any textile which is used and all that is recycled and to create again another stylish clothing. See this recycling approach. Again, environmental friendliness is the idea there. And hemp curry, again, Uttarakhand based product. Use hemp fabric, an eco friendly alternative to cotton, because biodegradability and recyclability are whatever you call it. So this is something about the psychological implications, how people of environment conservation oriented think. What is their cognitive factors? They always look at the products which are environment friendly. That's it. Then about sociology, how peer influence and social media trends influence here. In this, when we talk about Gen Z's approach, social media influencers drive sustainable fashion choices, because see the undercurrent here is, we have taken an example of case of a Gen Z behavior patterns. Gen Z behavior pattern, consumer behavior pattern is that they are very much interested about the environmental friendly approaches. They are not interested at all to encourage manufacturing and use of unfriendly approaches when we refer to environment conservation. So, India Gen Z consumers are heavily influenced by social media. What is the social media? You have Instagram and YouTube, right? So, a lot of things like store culture, and leading to a rise in pre-loved fashion and rental clothing. Instead of buying it, you can take rent clothing for rent. Why do you buy it? So, for example, for say big what you call marriage occasions, for example, you have for brides and bridegrooms, you need not have to you know go in for stitching of a beautiful occasion related suit. You can go in for rent. See, if you just look at how the Gen Z consumers are being influenced by, influencers in social media. For example, you can say here that if you look at the social media implications, I think in the next coming session, I'll be in a position to give you in more detail because I'm just summed up here. And this summary may not have a very clear view of this. But then it is very important for us to consider how influencers like Komal Pandey and Kritya Khurana, the famous Dad Boho girl, and Sijal Kumar frequently promote thrift shopping. Don't buy luxurious things. Go for sustainable brands. Thrift shopping. Thrift is what we call save. Save the globe. Your buying practices should be like that. Don't buy everything that is made available. And the manufacturers are said to be irresponsible, unethical in their manufacturing processes. They dump every product which is useless today. Because when you use it, okay, you can use it, and then after that, how you dispose the product. For example, you take a bottle of water, plastic bottle of water. Then after drinking water, what do? You will be throwing it out. So that's not biodegradable. So this is how it goes. So the future life is being threatened because of global warming, sea levels rise. There is extraordinary, melting up of ice from Himalayas, which is increasing the sea levels. So this is what global warming is all about, threatened by environmentalists today. So they encourage all those. This is called sociological factor. Clear influence of sociology. So social media influencers drive sustainable fashion choices, and marketers now emerge to manufacture and sell these kind of things. Especially this case study where we take a Gen Z's approach. Then about economics. This is about affordability and sustainable fashion. Again, Gen Z's approach is like this. So earlier, sustainable fashion was perceived to be very, very expensive earlier. But Indian brands today are offering budget friendly, eco friendly options because Gen Z wants this. There's a major chunk of population, buying population today, customer class today, belong to Gen Z. So we have affordability and sustainable fashion as such. For example, you can say that Fab India, for example, or Khadi Village Industries Commission, for example, or these products, I mean brands, offer organic cotton and hand woven garments at reasonable prices. Take the case of Fab India. And take the case of Okai. Provides handicrafted clothing made by rural artisans. See, we have to give employment to rural artisans, local use of resources, ensuring affordability and sustainability. Because this is what actually Gen Z want. And Khadi Village Industries Commission promotes natural hand woven fabrics at lower prices. Today, that's why we have a you're witnessing a marked shift. People are using cotton, classic cotton. And say, for example, Upasan, another Pondicherry based unit, creates eco friendly, handicrafted clothing supporting artisan communities. So, what rural areas and artisans are there, and people who have their livelihood on that. Look at what it means. So, if you just look at affordability and sustainable fashion, people are interested in. So that's the question of economics, affordability. Another important economic question, warning here, is sustainable fashion. Look at the globe. So that's very important. Then about anthropology is about cultural shift. I do not have to tell you much about it. There's a shift towards ethical consumption. You responsibly consume. That means especially at the end of the day when you want to dispose the product. So that's the reason why we talk about traditional Indian textiles are naturally sustainable. Indian handloom weaving techniques, natural dyes, no artificial dyes mandate. Most of the manufacturers of textiles who are not ethical enough are using artificial dyes. That's a problem area. And artisanal craftsmanship are inherently sustainable, because earlier artisans who make this textile fabrics are responsible, and they are using every ethical procedures in the process of making the product. Say, for example, Raw Mango, Sanjay Garg's brand, revives hand woven textiles and supports Indian weavers. See, this is what sustainability means. You can't go ahead in a way which is not intended for. And Indian weavers should be encouraged. Same again here in Tula, India. They produce organic handmade cotton garments, supporting Indian farmers and weavers. That's something interesting, because that's what Gen Z wants: environmental friendly approaches, ethical consumption, ethical production, sustainability. And another Ahmedabad based company, Bhusatwa, use organic fabrics and herbal dyes, mandate herbal dyes, not artificial dyes, herbal dyes, promoting zero waste fashion. This is fantastic approaches what we have, because Gen Z wanted. See, I'm just going back. This is the case study what we are looking at. Why Gen Z India prefers sustainability fashion over fast fashion? We are not interested in fast fashion, because then we are environmental conservation oriented people are here, who are born between 1997 and 2012, Gen Z, and they're witnessing a major shift in fashion choices, moving from modern to tradition again. So look at some interesting aspects when we talk about a global brand to another brand in India. A case study for comparative purposes. This table highlights that. Let's see H&M. You know very much. This is H&M is Hennes and March, Swedish retailer. And then here on the other side is Fab India, Indian made sustainable fashion. That's India's chain retail stores, Fab India. Let's examine the factors and how the orientation of H&M versus Fab India there. Look at the business model. H&M's business model is mass production, trend driven. They look at the trend and they go for mass production. But no, the Fab India is handicrafted, artisanal production, because they take care of handicrafts, artisans. Very, very important, because we need to take care of our own people. Second, environmental impact. H&M's approach, manufacturing approaches, high textile waste. They waste a lot of raw material in the process of making a fashion fabric. But here in Fab India, supports organic farming, ethical sourcing of cotton. Yeah, that's very interesting. So do you support Fab India or H&M? We need to support Fab India. That's what Janjad is all about. Their approach is all about. Then about pricing, H&M's is of course affordable, but low durability. The fashion fabric itself is low durability, but it is affordable. But in case of Fab India, it is slightly higher. Yes, because we don't have the economic advantage. We take all ethical approaches in the process of manufacturing. Maybe that's the reason why we have a slightly higher price for Fab India products, but lasts longer. Do you mind about affordability and low durability, or would you mind to pay just higher and buy a product which lasts longer? Absolutely, your choice should be for Fab India. That's what Gen Z's behavior is. And about marketing strategy, it is highly celebrity driven. That means there are social media influencers will be there, and film personalities, sports people will come here and go for providing social proofs, celebrity advertising. But in Fab India, they focus on our heritage, sustainability of our environment. Which one do you prefer, Fab India or H&M? No doubt that we need to, favor Fab India. With regard to consumer protection, so are you protected when you just buy different types of products? What is the H&M's approach here? That is trendy but unsustainable. See, there are you're disturbing the environment by doing all that nonsense, manufacturing processes. Ethical production is not there. It may be trendy. It looks fashion and trendy and all that. You're on the dot with regard to a fashion cycle, but it is unsustainable. But in case of Fab India, it is ethical, eco-conscious, and culturally rooted. We cannot, forget our own roots. So look at the practices. See case study comparison for H&M and Fab India. If you are for environmental friendly approach and sustainability, which brand you buy? Which brand you prefer? You prefer definitely Fab India. So what are the discussion questions for us to understand and engage ourselves in further discussion? I suggest that somewhere in a physical classroom, you take up these questions for a group discussion. I request Upendra sir to take care of this. So first question is, would you prefer an Indian sustainable brand over an international fast fashion brand? Second question, why do that? Why not? Third question is, how do social media influencers affect your fashion choices? Take examples from Indian market scenario. And what should fast fashion brands do to become more sustainable in India? Okay, if you are for market, because we are in a global trade, we can't say that no foreign brand is available in India. But are they conscious about sustainability? Very important, environment sustainability. Then last question is, how do traditional Indian fabrics contribute to sustainability? The very, very interesting aspect. How do traditional Indian fabrics contribute to sustainability? So in conclusion, just consider now, with reference to case study I'm talking, Indian Gen Z is actively choosing sustainable fashion brands influenced by environmental consciousness. We are ethical production, ethical consumption, ethical disposal of the goods should not disturb environment. And affordability, social media, and cultural heritage. Our culture is much more important. So brands that successfully blend all these components like affordability, sustainability, and Indian craftsmanship are leading the future of eco-friendly fashion in India. That's what very important for us to consider. At this point, I stop. Um, yeah. So I want to be on.
Sir, what are the some more characteristics of Gen Z as we are daily facing them? Some
Because
how to,
we will take another session on generations and intergenerational conflicts and all, because the time may not be sufficient for me to get into.
okay,
But because what happened, very many important aspects today with regard to Gen Z, and all of a sudden, what we have noticed is global warming and dearth of natural resources and renewable energy, etc., becoming paramount, because everyday life becomes a complex, what do you call, things. Everyday life becomes very complex. So that they have realized. So people are very much concerned about environment conservation. There are a lot of support systems working on environmental conservation, sustainability. So fortunately, the Gen Z generation, who are born between 1997 and 2012, are more conscious of the environment. So the naturally, because of that attitude, everything will be re-engineered in the economy, right? Including our production, including our consumption, lifestyles, etc., etc., etc. So they're more conscious. That's how. That's why we have a lot of sustainability concerns.
okay. Sir, sir, do one thing. Me remove the this one says presentation up in sir, so that we have good view of
Okay,
everything.
okay, okay. Presentation.
Yeah, stop presentation,
What
stop
it
screen.
says.
Yeah,
Top screen.
yes, sir.
Okay, that's good.
So one more
Okay.
question is, oh, as a teacher, how we handle these behaviors, rigid behaviors in the classroom. How should be the teaching pedagogy will be.
No, that's why we say. See, the question is, you can't go beyond. I mean, above their heads. So
Like
whatever you speak, they are more in terms of logic.
logic.
So that's
Okay,
the reason why I just have chosen the current examples. I am not with textbook. I am with the recent trends. So I think that's where we need to look at. When you, of course, you talk about a theory, absolutely, because a lot of theoreticians have developed a lot of models, no doubt about it. There is nothing wrong in it. But at the same time, when you make the concept relevant, you make a relevant, take a relevant example and go for analysis, so that they can appreciate. But the thing is, you need to have a lot of reading and a lot of maturity to help students to understand what is happening. So the let us not be too bookish
okay.
in the presentations of today, because the students of yesteryears are completely different from students of today. Because they work out on logic, they work out on proof, they again instantaneously verify what's happening and what is being taught. That's the reason why sometimes there will be rebuff. This tool will not work, this theory will not work, and all that. So that's the
And
reason
one
why research oriented approach is very much necessary. When you talk about consumer behavior, you just examine at least through 3, 4, 5, 6 research papers on consumer behavior models, and people might be working out on that, so that you can pick those beautiful points from that and then relate it this to a theory which you're going to talk to.
sir, one
That-
more
that-
question.
For example, you're talking in terms of, say, for example, you're taking investment management. So, what is investment management of yesteryears is completely different from what is investment management today, because a lot of changes take place and a lot of regulations in the investment markets and all that. So you need to be extra careful in the process of examining all the relevant current areas which have a significant impact on the subject you teach. So that can help anybody for that matter. That's the, I mean, my approach is that whenever I accept an assignment, I will do a little research on the relevance of that particular concept and what's going on, so that I can fine tune my examples or whatever you call it. So I try to integrate with the model.
Sir,
So instead of talking too much about the model and stop there, you need to further elaborate. I understand that there is a challenge in the classroom, but yet, no worry, no worry. If a teacher fails in the classroom, that's not the dead end. After all, we may fail. I mean, students may have, extra resource with them when compared to that of a teacher. Does not matter much. Go again, fresh up, refresh, and then bring in. So that should be the approach.
the final question, sir. I have observed student behavior regarding their course work. Generally, we go take previous question paper at the end of the semester. But
Okay.
what the students were doing that they at the beginning of the semester they were going to library and bringing the last 2 3 years question paper and they using chat GPT and they were preparing for the examinations not even coming to the class. How can we change their
Okay,
attitude
that's fine. That's
towards
fine
this?
because okay, that's okay. Fine. ChatGPT or even Gemini and a lot of AI tools, they can make use of it. But the question is, no, if you want me to take a session on that and how to use AI tools also, I just another half an hour discussion can be of much use because students are now taking, because I did a certification on
Okay.
AI tools, how to use AI in higher education as such, for training and development and whatever you call it. So it's a good thing to talk to an AI agent, but you need to take appropriate care and how to interact with an AI agent. Well, it's a Gemini or it's Chat GPT or whatever you call it, or even what you call all chatbots you can use, but the thing is, how do you ask and how do you interact counts a lot. That the exact prompt you can give will influence the chatbot to give you the output you require. If your question is wrong, the output is wrong. That's it. And please note that chatbots can make mistakes.
Yeah.
So you need to cross check that with other authentic resources.
Okay,
That's it.
sir. Thank
There
you,
are
sir.
certain.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
stop here, sir. They have. Thank you, sir. We meet in the next week, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next week, huh?
Thank you.
Next week.
Yes, sir. Yeah, next week, sir.
Oh, fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.